Hey everyone, and welcome to Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Today we're going to be continuing block 8 of Annie's crochet Afghan. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in, and for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we're going to continue completing this booklet from one of their kits. If you do not know about Annie's, they are a subscription kit club. They do more than just crocheting, so if you want to check them out. But I'm doing this Cozy Cottage Sampler Afghan. Last video we did block 7. Today we're going to do block 8. So let's get started. Due to copyright reasons, I cannot share any of the information inside this booklet. So if you'd like to make this Afghan for yourself, I highly recommend that you go on their website and get the kit. What I do on my channel is I pretty much teach you how to do any of these stitches step by step at least 3 times, and then I go about doing the rest of the block at my own pace. And if there are any, I'll also teach you how to read the instructions as well. And then there's edging at the end. So I'll do enough for you guys to get started on your own. Alright, so today we're going to be using driftwood. In these kits, if the instructional, I think most of them have 3 blocks at a time. So they'll give you 3 different spools, or actually for this kit, I know I got another one, the Moroccan one, so I don't know how much goes in there. In your first kit, you're gonna get 3 spools of yarn, some crochet hooks, and then I think you also get a packet of stitch markers, and I think a needle. I don't remember. It's been a while now. But then every other kit after, you'll just continue getting the spools of yarn with the instructional booklet. When you go on their website, you pick a project. I pick this Afghan, and they tell you how many kits make up this Afghan. So I believe it's like 10 or 11 kits. So this is the kicker. Each kit for me with shipping and tax and everything was about $28. So essentially, when you multiply that by 10 or 11, you are going to get a couple $100, maybe more. So it is on the pricier side. However, if you were to buy a real handmade Afghan, you're going to find them being sold at that amount of money because you're paying for their craft. You're not paying for a machine that makes it in 2 seconds. Over exaggerated, of course. Okay, so let's get into this. What I like to do with these is I like to get the end that's on the inside of the spool, not the outside. So what they like to do, and I guess this prevents it from unraveling during handling and shipping, they'll stick the outside end inside. So you just pull that guy out, like that, and then I just like to tuck it back into this banding. I love to keep the bandings on so that it keeps everything nice in a spool like this. If you were to remove the band, can't guarantee what would happen, especially if you have pets around. So what I like to do is go into each end and try to find the inside end. Sometimes it's just chilling out there, telling you to pick it. Other times it's hiding. But at any case, if you cannot find the end, it's really simple to find. Eventually, what I'm going to do is pull a few threads out. 1 of 2 things can happen. 1, you easily find the end and there's not much yarn that you've pulled out. 2, you end up pulling a lot out. But that's okay, because the idea is you want to keep it intact we'll eventually use the yarn that we pull. So this is how much I pulled. But when you use this up in your project and you start pulling, you put a little light paperweight, you can keep pulling and pulling and pulling, and as you see, the spool is not rolling around, and that's ideal, because I hate when you're just trying to work it and you're trying to stop it from spinning and getting into things on your desk. But anyway, so I'm gonna put I've got a little lamp that I put on it, and it's not even big enough to hold it down, but it should be enough to keep it from pulling with me. Yeah. So now that we got that end, I'm just gonna quickly do this. But so in my video, I do split up the video in sections, so you're gonna be able to navigate very quickly to where you need to be. If my talking is too much, it's my channel, I'll do it. So in the description box there are sections with timestamps. All you got to do is find the section you need and click on it, and you're right there. Also in the description box is my Amazon storefront. If you need any of this stuff, stitch markers, let's say you've lost it or whatever, I did tag a couple of stores that that sell those things. I have not purchased from them myself, but they are high star rated, which is why I pinned them on my Amazon storefront. Okay, also in there is my memberships. It's my membership link. I highly recommend that you check that out as well, because there's a lot of perks that I've opened up for my channel that you may or may not benefit from, but it's always good to check it out. Alright, if you need to speed up or slow down the video at any point, there's a gear button in the corner. Click on that. There's playback options to go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me talk, you could always lower the volume on your device and click on the CC closed caption button. Alright, so let's get started. We're going to need the larger hook today, or at least to start. And then I'm going to teach you how to cast on with the slip knot. There's so many ways to do this. I think in my other videos I was using the hook. Screw the hook, let's just do this. Take your pinky, ring, finger, and thumb and hold one end. Then take your index and middle and hold the other. That way you're holding the yarn apart. Just take your 2 fingers here and pull up, turn down, then take your middle finger and index finger and pull on this feeder yarn and pull it through the loop, creating a huge knot. And then all you have to do is tighten up the knot. When you tighten it, try to tighten it close to your left thumb. This is going to eliminate the amount of yarn that you waste. I know we have a huge spool and there's always yarn left over every time I do these blocks, but it's always good practice to waste as little as possible. And also we do have to save your spools, because once we're done it said save them, because we will be using them, so you never know if there will be enough at the end. But anyway, once you get here, you want to hold on to the knot. We got to make this loop small enough to fit a crochet hook. So take your feeder yarn and pull until you get a nice decent size to fit a hook. You don't want to have to force your hook through these loops. So that's a cast on with a slip knot without needing a needle. Alright, then you take your hook and you put that through. I'm actually naturally a lefty, so sorry if I did that, but if you're not a lefty, it's pretty much doing it the opposite way. Okay, so let's do row 1. The first steps that we have to do is a CH, which stands for chain stitch. The chain stitch is the most basic stitch in crocheting, so I'll show you how to do that. What you want to do is hold this knot down. This is going to anchor your project, so it's easier to create your stitches. But to do a chain stitch, we're going to yarn over. So it's taking the feeder yarn and putting it over the hook. So then from here, you're going to take the yarn over and we're going to pull it through this loop. So hook it and pull it through the loop. Like that. So now we've just completed our chain stitch. That's how basic it is. And the chain stitch is made up of 3 loops. You have 1 loop here, 1 loop here, and if you turn it on its side, you have a back hump right there. So if there's anything to remember about the chain stitch, remember that one, because we're gonna deal with this stuff later. But that's it, that's a chain stitch. So let me show you how to do this 2 more times. Again, we're going to yarn over, which is taking the feeder yarn and putting it over the hook, and then we're going to take the yarn over and pull it through this loop. So hook it and pull it through the loop. So now we have 2 chain stitches, a loop on this side, loop on this side, and then turn it on its side, and you have a back hump right there. And I turn it on its side because you can see it better. If I turned it on its back, especially with the color yarn, you can't really see it. There's the back hump, there's the back hump. Alright, let's do this one more time. So take your feeder yarn and we're going to yarn over by putting it over the hook, and we're going to pull this yarn over through the loop like that. So now we have 3. So one thing you will notice after doing 3 is you can see this beautiful braid forming, and that's going to be what the stitches look like for any stitch that you do if you look at the top view of your project. So I'm bringing this up again. There is an importance with this braiding, and when we finish up the chain stitches, I'll show you why. But now that I've shown you how to do the chain stitch at least 3 times step by step, you can rewind this part of the video as many times as you need until you are confident doing the chain stitch on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the number of chain stitches that row 1 is calling for, and then I'll come back in. Alright, once you've finished the number of chains you need, always check the count. I'm going to quickly count through this to make sure that I have the amount of stitches I need. Okay. As a beginner, that's a very important step so that you can catch your mistakes before your project gets any deeper, and then it's going to take longer to correct. But anyway, so now we finished the first section of this row 1. The next section, we're going to learn how to do a double crochet stitch. So let's talk about that a little bit. When you have a row of chains here and you do a double crochet stitch, it's a universal instruction that you'll find in any instruction that you have to skip some chains. That's going to build the height of the row. So for a double crochet stitch, you have to put your hook into the 4th chain because it takes 3 chains to make the height of a double crochet stitch. So if that was confusing enough, let's look at the hook and count back. So 1, 2, 3 chains makes the size of a double crochet, but we're going to put our hook into the 4th chain because that sometimes that 3 chains count as 1 double crochet. So we're going to put our hook into the 4th chain, and I mentioned earlier the number of loops of a chain. I like to put my hook into the back hump of that chain so that I can preserve the look of this braiding. So let me show you. Turn it on its side and put your hook into the back hump. When you flip it underside here, you're literally putting that hook underneath the braid, so that when we end up finishing this block, you're going to see that braid on the underside. It just gives it a nice finish, and then when we do our edging, it gives you a nice hold on that stitch by putting your hook through the 2 loops. Okay, so now that we've discussed what chain you put your hook in, let's talk about a double crochet stitch. So to start a double crochet stitch, we're going to take the feeder yarn and yarn over once. Okay, then you're going to stick your hook into that 4th chain from the hook, back hump. So now you have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull this yarn over through 1 loop like that, so you still have 3 loops on your hook. And then we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through 2 loops, 1, 2, so you have 2 loops remaining. Then we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through the remaining 2, 1, 2. So that's why they call it a, well, I'm assuming that's why they call it a double stitch. For all I know, they can call it a double because it's double the size of a single crochet hook, single crochet stitch. But anyway, so that's what a double crochet looks like at the front. This is what it looks like on the top. Like I said, whatever stitch you do, it's going to look like that braid. You have your front loop here and your back loop here. All right. So we did the next part of this row 1, and it says that this first 3 chain stitches, like I said, usually they'll count that as 1 double crochet stitch. So technically we have 2. So try to remember that part. Because you'll have to, after every row, you're going to count how many of these you have to make sure you have the right number. Don't forget to count these chain stitches on the side. Okay, moving on to the next step. It says we're going to be doing some double crochet stitches. So I'm going to show you how to do at least a double crochet stitch 2 more times, and then we can move on to the next steps. Okay, so yarn over. We're going to put our hook into the next stitch. So that's the one right next to the one we just used. We're going to use the back hump. You're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over, and then you're going to pull through 2 loops. Then you're going to yarn over again and pull through those 2 loops. So now we have 1, 2, 3 double crochet stitches, because we're counting these chains as a double crochet stitch. Looking at the top, it still looks like a braid. If you want to not confuse yourself later, I would put a stitch marker at the top of the 3rd chain here. So here's 1, 2, 3. That made the height of the double crochet stitch. You just want to slip your stitch marker on top of the 3rd stitch there, 3rd chain. You want it just under the front and back loop, and then you want to make sure you didn't pierce the yarn or anything like that. I kind of did, so I'm going to redo it. You always want to make your stitches nice and clean. Okay, let's do the double crochet stitch one more time. So we're going to yarn over. You're going to put your hook into the next stitch, back hump. Okay, then we're going to yarn over You're going to pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So now we have 4 double crochet stitches, still looking like a braid. Alright, so now that I've shown you how to do the double crochet stitch at least 3 times, step by step, you can rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing the double crochet stitch on your own. But I'm just going to move forward with the rest of this section, and then I'll come back in and we'll talk about those brackets. Alright, so looking at the brackets, that pretty much means that we're going to focus on every stitch that they're talking about inside the bracket. More than likely, we're going to be repeating this bracket as many times as they tell us to do it. So let's take a look at this bracket. It might have a lot of stuff, but we're just going to focus on the sections. What I mean by sections is anything before a comma. It's just easier to break it down into small pieces so you're not overwhelmed. And what we're looking at first right now is a chain stitch, and we pretty much have done that all throughout here in the beginning, so you should know how to be doing the chain stitch. So I'm going to do one now, and then the next thing that we're going to learn is SK. SK stands for skip, and you're going to skip the number of stitches that it tells you to skip. So once we do that, our next section is going back to doing double crochet stitches. So let's do those double crochet stitches. Don't forget to skip those chains that they tell you to skip. And then we're going to do the double crochet stitches. So you see, when you break it down into smaller sections, it's a lot easier to handle. And so sometimes when I don't read ahead, especially when you're transitioning colors, I do get tripped up, but I really like to focus at one piece at a time, because this stuff does get overwhelming, and it's easily, you can easily get frustrated when it's overwhelming like that. So just know that I am aware of the difficulties of being a beginner and dealing with a lot. You just got to be patient and take things one literal stitch at a time. Alright, so now that we've finished that, we kind of finished the bracket. So again, like I said, usually when you see a bracket, you have to repeat that over and over again. And so now that I've shown you how to read the bracket, I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this row using the bracket. So you can go ahead and do that as well. Alright, when I get to the end here, what I like to try to do is to tuck in this end piece. So what I'm going to do is try to stitch it inside my double crochet stitch. So what you'll do is take that little end piece and I'm going to lay it across the hook alongside that loop there, and we're just going to try to stitch it together. So you go about your double crochet stitch as you would, yarn over, pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through those 2 loops. And sometimes it stays that way. When we do our edging, we'll definitely end up hiding that in our stitches. But we've finished the row. So let's talk about the parentheses at the end of the row. The parentheses is actually a stitch count, so that's going to help you figure out if you're on the right track. So in these parentheses we have a total of chains, so you're just chain spaces. So SPS stands for spaces. So you just have to check the number of chain spaces that we have, which are the little skips that we did, and then it's going to give you a stitch count of your double crochet stitches. So then you would just count how many double crochet stitches you have. So once you confirm that you're on the right track, I'm going to show you another tip. Like I said, I like to mark my ends so that I know where I'm putting my hook next. Sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle. It also keeps track of the number of rows, so this one's going to indicate that I'm going to do row 2 next. So stick your stitch marker underneath the braid, that's the front and back loops, and then just turn it over and pull to make sure that you are not splitting your yarn, and you can close it. And the end of this row 1, it tells you to turn. So your project is looking like this right now with your right hand. We're just going to flip this or turn it to the other side so it looks like this on your right hand. Alright? If you're lefty, it's all the opposite. It's pretty much the same, just different hand. Okay. So for row 2 now, we are going to be doing some chains again, and we're going to be working with it has pattern notes in the parenthesis, and this is going to be just a note when you do certain things, because it's written in bold letter, that you want to read that note when you see that bold writing. So in the pattern note sections, it does show you what happens if you do a chain 3. It shows you what happens when you do a chain 4. So that's always helpful. So I'm just going to read that real quick. Okay. Alright. So it's pretty straightforward. So let's start by doing the chains. Alright, then what we're going to do is we have to do a double crochet stitch. Okay, so do your double crochet stitch into the same stitch as we started with, and again, so these stitch markers are really great help to identify where this stitch is. I usually get confused in the very beginning of each row. Okay, so the next step is we are having another SK, which is skipping. So skip the number of stitches that they tell you to do, and then we have to work a parentheses, and in this parentheses we have some double crochet stitches and chain stitches. So we're going to do that right after our skip stitching. So let's do that. Okay, so I've skipped my stitches, and then I'm going to do that parenthesis, which is double crochet stitches and chain stitches. Okay, so you have this V looking situation here. All right, now in our next section we have parentheses. This is a lot. Row 2 is a doozy. So in the bracket, let's again focus on one section first, and that's a chain stitch. That we can do. The next section is telling you to skip some chain spaces, so we'll do that. And then we're going right into, again, another parenthesis, doing double crochet stitches and chain stitches. So let's do that now. And in that parentheses, of course, it says in the next stitch, so we're all putting it in the same stitch. Okay. Then for our next section, again, we're going to be skipping some stitches and then going right into another parenthesis of double crochet stitches and chain stitches, and it's all going into that same stitch. So skip your stitches that you have to skip, then we're going to do our double crochet stitches and chain stitches into that next stitch, all in this one stitch. Okay, so we finished the end of the bracket, and we pretty much have to repeat it all the way across. It's a lot. So I'm just gonna finish that, and then when we come back in, we're going to do the next steps. And I'm gonna do this in silence. Alright, I wanted to pop in here because I wanted to show you that it's a great idea in the beginning to put this stitch marker on top of that third chain. So this is supposed to be our double crochet stitch. If we didn't have that there, then, you know, I guess maybe you could count it, but sometimes this last one just chills out so far that it's really hard to see where you put your hook, at least for me. So now that we put our stitch marker here, I know that I have to put my hook into right where that stitch marker is. So I'm just going to continue this last part of that parenthesis or that bracket. Okay. And once I'm here, I'm going to take another stitch marker and we're going to place this under the last stitch we made under the braid. Make sure that you are not splitting the yarn. Close it up, and then we're going to turn. Okay. So now we have row 3. And again, those letters are in bold with a parenthesis saying see pattern notes. So when we go to the pattern notes, like I said, there is a section that says chain 3. Just got to read that for a bit and see what they want you to know. Okay. All right, so now for the next part, we're going to be doing, well, we're going to be doing these chains first, actually. So do your chains. Okay. And that's going to count as your double crochet stitch. Okay, so now we're going to do an actual double crochet stitch. So let's do that. And it tells you where they want you to put it. So I don't think we've gone over that. So CHSP stands for chain space. I guess we did go over that. But anyway, we're going to do that now. So when you do a chain space, you don't have to go through the loops. You can just go right under that space. Okay, so just stick your hook under that space and continue the double crochet stitch. Now that we've done that, you can go back and get a stitch marker to put on the top of those 3 chains so that when we do our next row, we know where to put our hook. Like I said, sometimes those 3 chains, they get so bunched up that it's hard to tell where you put your hook. But now we've put a stitch marker, so we know where we gotta put it. Alright. So after we do our double crochet stitch, we have another SK. And then we're gonna do another double crochet stitch into the chain space. So like I said, go all under. You don't have to go through the stitch, just go right under that chain space and do your double crochet stitch. Okay. All right, so in the next section now, we're gonna do another skip. And then we're going to do a double crochet stitch in the next space. So I'll show you how to do that one more time. So you just take your hook, put that right under that space. You don't have to put it through the stitch, just put it right under. All right, so we have that. Now after we've completed that section, we have to do another double crochet stitch. Okay. So far this is what it's looking like. Let us gather up some yarn. Our next step is brackets. So we know that's going to be a little lengthy. First thing that we're doing is a chain stitch. Okay, then we have to skip some stitches. We're going to skip some chain spaces actually, and then we're going to do a double crochet stitch in the next stitch after that. So skip the chain space and then do your double crochet stitch. Okay, our next section is we're going to be doing some more double crochet stitches and some chain spaces, so let's do that. And then we're going to skip some stitches. What is this end? Ooh, that's lengthy. Okay, and then we're going to do another double crochet stitch. Then we're going to skip. And then we're going to do another double crochet stitch. Okay. Okay. And then we're doing another double crochet stitch. Alright, I think I see the pattern now. So after you finish that bracket, we are going to repeat this across. So I'm going to do that in silence, and then we'll move on to row 4. Alright, so I actually took a break, and I don't remember if I clearly didn't remember to put the stitch marker on the third chain stitch from the previous row when we chained 4, because as the note says, and this is pretty universal, this will become the double crochet stitch up to the third chain, and then the fourth chain is going to be the space. So for the last part of the bracket for row 3, when we have to do the last stitch, like we did previously on the other row, we just stick our hook where the stitch marker is. And because I was able to kind of see where my stitches were, I was able to put this stitch marker in after the fact. But next time I gotta try to remember to put it right after I knit the 4 or 3 stitches, so that I know where to put my hook after, you know, when I get there, like I am now. So I'm just gonna complete this last double crochet stitch, and then we're gonna move on to round 4. Alright, so like here, I am going to put my stitch marker under the last stitch, and we're going to turn. Okay, so now for the next part, we're actually going to do rows 4 through 15. So this blue marker is going to identify row 4, and then I have all these stitch markers that I'm going to use to get up to 15. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And then I like to double count always to make sure I do have the right number. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right. So for these rows, it's going to be the same instruction that I'm going to read through next. So you can take your breaks how often as you want. These stitch markers are going to help you keep track of what row you're on. So if my blue one is row 4 and I happen to use this many, I can easily just count them from 4 and so on to find out which row I'm currently on. Especially because these books, when you get to that point, you tend to alternate 2 rows, and it's good to keep track of which row you're on. Otherwise you're going to be repeating a pattern and it's not going to look right. Alright, so for rows 4 through 15, it says we're pretty much going to repeat rows 2 and 3, and we're going to alternate it. So 4 is going to be 2, 5 is going to be 3, 6 is going to be 2, 7 is going to be 3. So it seems like all the even numbers are going to be row 2, and all the odd numbers are going to be row 3. So we're going to, this is pretty much straightforward. If you want, you can rewind this video to go back to rows 2 or 3. But I'm going to do the rest in silence. The more important thing is getting to row 16 when we finish off this block with the edging and fasten off. So I'll be right there with you when we get to that point. But till then, I'm going to do the rest in silence. I wanted to mental note for you guys because these are going to count for the rows, but when it comes to, so our next form of instruction is to do 4 chains. The ones where we have to put the stitch marker for the 3rd chain to identify where that double crochet is, because the chains will act as a double crochet according to the pattern notes. The stitch markers that you use, don't take from this pile. After you finish a row, you use these stitch markers. if you just want to mark where you're going to put your hook when you get to those chains, use your extra stitch markers. So I believe in the initial kit they give you a packet of orange and a packet of green. So just so you don't confuse the two, you know, what is meant to be a row and what is meant to be a chain, I recommend using either the orange or green for the chains and then use the other color you didn't use for the rows. So me, I'm just going to keep track of where I am by the number of row stitch markers I'm going to use. So hopefully that works, because I do have to stop right now and feed the cat. So I will be right back. Alright, so I finished up to row 15. We're going to do row 16 now, and we have to switch out to the smaller hook. So I'm just going to pull this out so I don't lose my stitch. Put the hook aside, and I'm going to go get the smaller hook, slip that in. You can pull the feeder yarn back so that you have your loop on your hook small enough to fit your hook. Alright, so for row 16 we're going to be working with our edging. Now I left all my stitch markers on here because it's going to help me divide up our stitches, because we're going to have to do some single crochet stitches right across the edge, and as you see for the rows, there's not really a clear place for you to put your hook. So these stitch markers already give you like a division of numbers. Just count up the number of stitch markers that you have. Okay. And then that's gonna help you place out the stitches that you're gonna need evenly. I did mark the last stitch we made with the stitch marker so that we know where the end of this row is, because we're pretty much going to do the same number of single crochet stitches all the way around, and we do have some corner conditions that we're going to have to address. So let's get this started. Alright, I don't believe we have learned the single crochet stitch yet, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that at least 3 times, step by step. Alright, so when I explain the heights of a double crochet stitch, that makes 3 chains, and that's universal. So the height of a single crochet stitch is 1 chain. So we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to be doing our single crochet stitches. So let me show you how to do a single crochet stitch. Stick your hook anywhere you wanted to divide up the single crochet stitches evenly into the row here. I like to at least get 2 loops in for stability, like a nice good stitch. So to do a single crochet stitch, we're going to yarn over, you're going to pull up a loop so you have 2 loops, then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So that's a single crochet stitch. This is what it looks like in the front. We have our front loop, back loop, we turn it on its top side, it looks like a braid, just like the other stitches we've been doing. Okay, let's do another one. Stick your hook into the next placement where you want to make your stitch. Then we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. Alright, let's do this one more time with you guys. Stick your hook into the next spot that you'd like to have your stitch in. We're going to yarn over, you're going to pull up a loop so you have 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So this is what it looks like front side. We have our front loops and back loops. We look at it on the top, it looks like the braid. And see this braid that I maintained in the very beginning, it's gonna look like it's continuous all the way around. I love it. But I'm sure when we sew the blocks together you won't see it, but you know, it's alright. Okay, so now that I've shown you how to do single crochet stitches step by step, you can go and rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing single crochet stitches on your own. I've divided this video into sections so you'll be able to quickly navigate to each section by going into the description box and clicking on the section that you need. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this side because we have to address the corners, and I'll show you what to do next. All right, let's do one more. Okay, so now we have to do a corner, and it's telling us we're going to do more than one single crochet stitch in this corner. So go ahead. This is actually the first stitch we've ever made. I can tell because you can see the knot. Here is the end piece that I try to hide. So we're going to use this, and you're going to do your corner piece. So go ahead and do that. Now, we're going to take a look at the bottom stitches and see a good reason why I maintain that chain space and we use the back humps is because now it's easy to look at this and count the stitches that we need to do the edging. So count your stitches down here, okay? And if it helps, a little tip: in the beginning when we did the first chain stitches, there was a lot of them. If we know that 3 chains make a double crochet, just subtract 3 chains from that number, and that's how many stitches you should have on here. So that's going to help you even out the number of stitches, single crochet stitches we're supposed to do. We already took one for the corner. We're going to take another one for the corner. So essentially you're actually subtracting 5 chain stitches from the original chains we started with, and you'll be able to see where you're going to put your single crochet stitches with that. It's close. It's not far off. And again, I can't go into specifics due to copyright. So yeah, just even out your stitches at the end of the day if I'm really not making any sense. And I forgot to mention, for these little chain spaces, rather than forcing your hook into that chain, I'm just going to go into the space. So it's, you know, it's easier for me. Okay, so for this corner I put a stitch marker to identify the last chain stitch from the very first row. So this is where I'm going to put my corner. So go ahead and work your corner. Alright. Now turn this a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and check to see how long my filming has been. I try to keep these videos at least around 2 hours long. I don't like to go any longer if I can help it, but I have a feeling I'm already over. So if that's the case, when we come back, I'm going to have the edging for the remaining 2 edges done, and we're going to come back in. I'll show you how to do a join and fasten off. If I still have time, then I'm just going to do the rest in silence, but let me go check. Alright, so I actually don't have time to just work in silence, so I did do the other 2 edges, and now I'm going to show you how to do a join. So when we started doing the edging, I told you I put this stitch marker for the last stitch I made for row 15. Then we had chained 1 to make the height of the single crochet stitch. It does pull, so that's why it looks like it's just chilling like a normal stitch. But what we have to do is do a slip stitch. We're not going to use that chain stitch. That is supposed to be a height. That's not supposed to be considered a stitch at all. We are going to do put our hook into the first single crochet stitch that we did for the edging. So insert your hook into that first single crochet stitch, and then to do a slip stitch, we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through everything off your hook. And that is a join stitch. Now we have to fasten off. So what I'm going to do is just cut about an inch or so. We don't need any long tails or anything. So I'm going to cut it about here. Then I'm going to take my yarn and yarn over the right hook, over the hook. I'm kind of watching some MMA fighting at the same time. But anyway, yarn over. We're going to pull the yarn over through this loop, but we're going to pull it all the way out. Okay. Then you're going to take that piece and we're going to pull it. We're going to turn this loop into a knot, and that's pretty much fastened off. So there you have it, you guys. We've completed the square. You can remove your stitch markers now. So again, I'm really glad that this kit does give you stitch markers. The more the merrier. You can never have too many, because there's going to be a project in your life that's going to require more than 15 rows at a time, and you're going to want to have enough of these stitch markers to use. Now when you buy these at a hobby store or online, again, I do have an Amazon storefront. If you want to try that, you can check it out in my description box. But I think when you click on them, they sell them by the bundle. Like there's, you know, one pack could have a ton of them. So and you know, I wouldn't say a ton, but a lot of them. So definitely look into that. And just note that the two stores that I've pinned on my Amazon storefront, I have not purchased from them, but I did pin them because they are a high star rating. That's what I usually go by. If you don't trust that, you can also just at least get the name, the proper, I call them stitch markers. I just, you know, names change over time. Just go on there and check the name of it, and you can go look elsewhere and at least know where to start. So yeah, I try to help out as best I can, and I'll definitely let you know if, you know, I know a seller or I don't know a seller, if I like the product, if I don't like a product. I like these kits, but I don't like how expensive they are, in my opinion. I've done Woobles on here, and I think they're a great company. You are paying for quality, but I feel like you're also paying for the name, because they do charge a lot for their kits as well. So you know, rest assured, I'm not gonna try pushing anything on you that I, you know, just because. But anyway, that said, this is our block. In the next video, we're gonna do block 9. You guys, I am alternating these blocks with the requested knit and crochet kits that I have lined up. If you have a request, feel free to comment below. I'll try my best to get them done, but I do add them all to my list. It's just a matter of time to get to it. There's just so many. If you want to check out the extra perks of you know, your requests and my channel, check out my membership perks. You click join, and you don't automatically join. You just click on that and I'll show you the levels that I have. I have 2 levels, and then each level has some extra perks than the regular channel, and of course requested videos are part of that as well. So yeah, At any rate, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.